And that, my friend, is when the goddamn pig exploded. And I turned to her. She had entrails and blood all over herself. She looked me straight in the eye, and you know what she said?
What's that?
That bacon be raw.
Mm, mm, mm.
How you doing, buddy? On Facebook, you said you were having a breakdown.
Yeah. I'm going through a lot. Got a lot of Comic-Con stuff going on. Comics seem to be. I'm actually. Last Call Comics is behind in our printing schedule. We are 11 comics behind that need to be printed.
Go for a dozen.
Yeah. We'll wait
good.
till we get 12, and then we'll.
There we are.
We'll find
Print them all at once.
Yeah.
Print them all on your copier in your back room. Mimeograph those suckers.
Yeah, we'll make some those Kinko copies, folded comics.
So is this a schedule you've made on your own, or is this a diamond schedule that you're screwed on?
No, this is a schedule I made on my own. That we just got books that from talent that came in.
Yeah,
and they all start hitting. Everyone starts kicking their books to me at the same time.
You know what the answer to that is?
What's that?
Stop committing to other people.
Yeah.
That was always my problem with Arrow. All of my stuff always slid because somebody else's book had to get to print. So my books were always really late. And everybody else was just as on time or late as possible,
Mm-hmm.
So
it's
not good
trying to kick out that many books at one point.
At least you don't have Diamond breathing down your neck going, you have 60 days. Get those books to us, or we're canceling your purchase order and you're really screwed. So
yeah,
at least that's something. So are you going to be printing 25 of each title as you get them processed?
Yep, that's our new program. We are
ka-ching.
Yeah, 25 of each title. That's about $70 per book. I mean, $70 per order.
We're here to drive Comics Wellspring crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'll happen? Do we have a link?
Yeah. Let me get you one.
Send it to my Facebook Messenger.
Alrighty.
So I can post that, even though I didn't post that we were going live. Two nights in a row, and it's almost killed you.
Yeah. It's I'm definitely not cut out for this.
So is it post Motor City Con crud that you're suffering from, or what?
It very well might be. It might.
It sounds like it. No offense, but
yeah.
it does.
Jim Lee was sick. I think he had a cold because he was wiping his nose and he sneezed one point.
That damn Jim Lee.
And I think that I may have contracted Jim's cold.
First he puts Muck Lux on Batman, and now he gives you a cold. Has he given up his circle template yet? I haven't looked at his stuff lately.
You know what? I haven't.
He's semi-retired now, though, because he's so busy, right?
Yeah.
Doing everybody else's job that they let go a couple months ago.
They got rid of quite a few people over there at DC.
Do I smell another burned bridge? What's that? That smell. Anyway. It's all your fault. You get me involved in this comic stuff again, and I get to look and see how absurd and angry it makes me, and it just brings out the Spank the Monkey in me. That's all.
I sent you the link.
Did you? I will zip over there now. I am zipping. Oh my God. That picture you used was, yeah. I think my wife's getting past the Jason Momoa phase. She told me I can get rid of my beard. So it's very, very, very likely I will be a new man of the next video chat that we have. Ethan's live right now too. Not that matters any.
Yeah.
Not that we tread on each other's mass audience, since he's got 6,000 people probably listening to him now.
Let's stream snipe him. My warm up clap.
Sorry, all of you Indie Volt listeners out there,
Some that sweet dead air.
wondering what the heck. Why am I listening to Dead Air when I could be listening to Barry Manilow? The nice and mellowing thoughts of Barry Manilow.
Is that your NPR voice?
Yeah. No, my Bob Ross imitation. Yeah. I did that today. I was teaching class and I got real Bob Rossi with them because it was high school kids, getting temperamental. Mm-hmm. I don't think I could draw this stuff. Hey, dude, it's only Stimpy. Come on. What's the problem? I don't even know who this character is. All the more better that you sit there and draw him. Or actually, it was like, all the more better for you to sit here and draw him. Nice, happy little clouds. Just a little curve. That's all we need. It's a nice oval. That's his nose. Isn't that big? What do you think that means? Of course, big nostrils.
Yeah. I watched Bob Ross. He's like on, I think, 2 different streaming services. So when I can't sleep at night, I turn Bob Ross on.
A lot of rumor about his secret agenting career that apparently he was quite the shit kicker when he was younger in the military. Mm-hmm. And decided to paint and adopt that whole persona because he calms his nerves. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading something that said he got tired of yelling. He was yelling pretty much all his professional, his younger life.
You spell awry, AWRY? I think so.
I believe so.
Yeah, okay. It looks right. We are live chatting. Where are you? Second night in a row. That won't happen again for a long time. Industry talk gone awry. Listen, if you dare. Listen, even if you don't dare. Let it call up that long string of, there we are. Okay. All right. I think we're good. I'm going to jump on that link and see if we go actually to a YouTube channel where I am sitting there looking like Santa Claus. Yeah, I think we're good.
Excellent.
You're just shutting me off. There's nobody. Oh, yeah. Hey, Lewis is in the chat.
Anyway. Lewis, how's it going? No, you didn't miss anything, Lewis. So this is our pre-warm up.
That bacon be raw.
Yeah.
Anyway, we probably won't be on for very long tonight, just so you can go and get some rest.
Yeah, some rest and try to calm my nerves. I'm all rattled.
That you'll get that adrenaline flowing because we're talking funny books. So
yeah,
that's what happens.
And the first thing about funny books, I guess, that we have to bring up is we touched on this a little bit yesterday,
but indecently.
But we didn't. Well, first, actually, I'm sorry. I got to go outside of comics.
Oh, we got to introduce ourselves just for those people, especially your Indie Vault audience who have no idea how crazy or who we are.
That's right. Go ahead, Randy, you first.
I'm Randy Zimmerman. I print a lot of stuff. I've printed a lot of stuff, independent comic publisher for many, 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 many years. I don't even remember how many books I printed. But the last decade, I printed a little local newspaper called Flint Comics that we ran through an entire 100 issues of. It was an advertiser-supported, free-to-readers newspaper. We gave it away in bookstores and comic shops and family restaurants, anywhere that you walk in and see that rack of free publications. We had a funny paper here around the Flint area just to help entertain people. So, but other than that, we're, I want to get back into self-publishing again and back into the comics scene, as it were. But yeah, I've got a more experience than some people have lived. More experience in the comic industry than some people have been alive. Anyway.
And then there's me riding Randy's coattails of fame. My name
is Varian. There's that's what was pulling me back.
My name is Varian Grant. I am a publisher of comics through my company, Last Call Comics. I am also an artist, occasional writer of comics, none of which you've heard of. And I'm also the founder of IndieVolt.com, which has spawned IndieVolt TV, IndieVolt Radio, and this YouTube station that you are watching right now.
Or hopefully listening to Indie Volt Radio as well.
Yeah, and I put these streams on IndieVolt Radio too, so you may be listening to it there.
And I kind of have a YouTube channel, Zim Geek, if you want to go over there and take a look. I haven't added any content in a few months, but it will be there eventually.
That's right. Randy?
Yeah.
I am going to start this in industry talk on something totally not comics related because I really it kind of is. It kind of is comics related. As we mentioned yesterday, we just had the close of Motor City Comic Con, and before that, you had told me that Gary Reed and you had told you that he liked the name Arrow and Caliber because they were closer up. They were further. They were ahead of other companies in the Diamond Previews book, correct?
No, just the green section.
Or just the green section.
Yeah, because you still had all those exclusive guys, the guys who had the big deal contracts, who had a percentage of the marketplace. All the rest of the guys in the back of the bus were listed in alphabetical order.
Right. So a name is very important to a company, correct?
Yes.
And I can't tell you how many times I walked through Motor City Comic Con looking through some companies and thinking, that's not really a good name. Even though I name my company is Last Call Comics, I still think that there are some weird names for companies. But a friend of mine.
That's why Aardvark Vanaheim was spelt with 2 A's.
Okay.
Aardvark, the guys who Dave Sim who printed Cerebus, he spelled it with 2 A's. He was right at the front of the green section.
Well, a friend of mine.
Though that he did that in order to be at the front of all of the lists, because back then that was before Diamond became the monopoly that it is today.
Okay.
So
a friend of mine.
Friend of yours.
Does some
thought the word Zazax was incredible.
No.
And thus listed it as ZZZZAX.
They do some billing for
duck billing?
Billing for medical procedures.
Okay.
And they sent me a link today and they say, can you believe this? And it's for a pediatric dentist. Okay. And I'm going to share with you this screen. Because when I seen it, I said, oh, that can't be real, but it is. It's real. If you were a pediatric dentist and you specialized in pediatric dentistry, what would you name your office?
I have no idea. That would take a while.
I don't think you're going to name it
Pedo Zone Dental Clinic. Yeah, baby. Come to the Pedo Zone.
Especially when the flyers start with, we're a little smile or just the beginning.
Oh, my God. Obviously, this person's probably not hip on the slang lingo. Yeah. And just by us using the PEDO word, you've probably completely demonetized this chat.
Yeah. Hey, listen, no, Google, you can't do that. I'm talking about a dentist's office. It is called Pedo Zone.
I don't think you have anything to worry about. We've only got maybe 30 people that are going to hear this anyway.
Yeah.
Except that now it sits in the YouTube archives forever. So eventually it'll have 6,000 hits because, we'll be famous.
Yeah. You're talking about pedos?
It's just the dental group.
Yeah.
It's pedo. Come on.
Yeah.
Pronounce it correctly.
It's pedo dentistry.
You need to post that on Facebook.
I thought about it.
I was going to send my kid here, but something just tells me maybe not.
It's
they're in Florida.
No, actually they're in. I believe they're in India.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different.
Yeah,
that's a whole different culture. So pedo might mean something completely different over there.
It's like kid zone.
You never know.
Yeah, nah.
Hey, they go to the pedo. Pedo to the metal.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So yeah, this is because we want everyone to know that name of your company is very important. Don't be Pedal Zone Comics. If you do have a key,
Don't get anybody started. There's too many people out there with too much of a dark sense of humor that they would probably go, oh, you know, that name's kind of cool. Pretty soon there'll be some pocket universe somewhere called the Pedo Zone. People get sent to.
Yeah.
In somebody's crazy universe. You see Humanoids is starting up another their own superhero universe.
Mm-hmm.
With the wondrous Mark Waid running it, the savior of comics. We should start calling him that because that's what he is. Mark Waid, the savior of comics.
That S he wears on his hat, and it's that's because that's what he's.
He wanted to be a superhero, dude. Little did he know how much he was saving the art for him.
I remember a DVD I had called Countdown to Wednesday, which is just anybody give. They have the opportunity. It's not very expensive anymore. And Mark Waid was one of the comic writers they interviewed on this documentary. And it's a look inside comics and, you know, the industry, especially with Top Cow. And they were talking to Mark. And, you know, even then, I don't think that I knew he would be the savior of the industry the way he has been.
Yeah.
He's actually,
him and Gail Simone.
Yeah.
They deserve it. They're going to get it. It's only a matter of time. History will win out. History will win out. They'll permanently be embedded throughout the comics history, if comics survives that long, as an art form, which I'm sure it will. I have faith it will.
They are doing a bang up job, those two.
H1. There's a character on there named Omni. Oh boy, that's original. I don't remember the other names. I remember Omni because I used to like that magazine when it was out on the stands. I think I still have the UFO issue that they did. They were a straight science magazine, and they sat down and broke down the UFO phenomenon. It was really an interesting issue because they went through and quoted all of the all of the believable incidents that had happened up until that point. That you know, that folks had reported. You know. Including the incredibly large book that I believe NATO had classifying 5 different races of aliens. So, and a guy got a hold of it and he wasn't supposed to. And, you know, he kind of wanted to tell everybody about it. I don't even know if that guy's still alive.
Well, of course not. They killed him.
Yeah. Anymore, they just dismiss him. They point their fingers at him and call him loons and convinces everybody else to laugh at him, you know. It's like all the other conspiracy theories. It takes a couple of decades, and then all of a sudden, hey, you know that guy back then we called crazy? But it wasn't that crazy.
Lewis says, yeah. Speaking of the humanoids situation, says, yeah, and they fired the original team, a black woman writer and black artist, and replaced them with Wade's ex, Devin Grayson, as the writer.
Yeah,
of that Omni book.
That's smart. That's smart.
I didn't think that, from what I'd heard, Devin Grayson didn't want anything to do with Mark Waid. I wonder if they mended. Obviously, they must have mended fences at some point.
Money. That's what it was. I'm sure. Hey, there's a paycheck. Okay. You're not going to edit my book, are you? I don't even want to talk to you. I'll write your book, though. You got to call people you know. You know, what can you do? This entire industry is built around a long string of nepotism. So, nepotism and milkshake girls. Anyway.
So
forget talent. But anyway, go ahead. Especially in the editorial department.
I was speaking with some people today about indie comics. And they were creators, and they were telling me
we should elevate our numbers somehow. Figure out how to do it. Have everybody start watching the channel 24/7 to up our hit count, and then start going after some really big time professionals to interview.
Yeah,
I think it'd be hilarious.
But
But then after they've heard this, they're like going, "You're not fooling us. You're only being listened to by 30 people." Anyway, I'm not going on your damn channel.
As an indie publisher, what is your job?
As a long-time indie publisher.
Yeah, what's the job of an indie publisher?
Everything.
Comics.
It's a wide brand, wide spanning, many hats kind of job. You're a little bit of everything, depending upon how many people are in your operation, how many books you have running, how much authority you want to delegate. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing. When we were doing Arrow, we were doing 3 or 4 books a month, and sometimes I was the business guy. I was just about everything at one point or another on the titles that we were publishing, except the Diamond contact representative. I didn't do that. I had somebody else deal with Diamond for me. I had a publisher that was a friend of mine that did that. But everything else, if it needed to be done, I did it. Bottle washing, whatever, conventioneering.
Would you say that promotion is a part of being a publisher?
Always. Always. When you're doing this kind of a product, an independent product, you're always got to be out there promoting. So, for me, the last 10 years, I've had red boxes that stick out like sore thumbs all the way around the county. So you can't help but see my stuff. And still, I had people going, "Hey, you do a paper? Mm-hmm. What's Flint Comics about?"
Would you be worried if your publisher was running?
I'd be worried. I'd be worried if I found out my publisher was only printing 25 copies of a book every time, especially before a big show.
Yeah,
I'd be worried.
Would you be worried would you expect your publisher to have some type of bankroll, or would you be okay with them going to Kickstarter and crowdfunding?
Anymore, I don't know. Probably, but I wouldn't be in that situation. If the only bigger companies that I want to print for me, I would know going in. Like if I asked Alterna to print for me, I have already seen that Alterna has people do Indiegogos and Kickstarters in order to support their books. So I realize I would probably be, up for that. But that's all part of the research. You don't want to solicit a book to Image Comics without knowing how Image is going to treat you, or know the products that they're doing right now. You're not going to send a superhero book to Image right now expecting it to get printed. You want to send some esoteric thing that could be a movie, probably. I don't know. I haven't studied Image that closely the last few years.
But as a publisher, I feel like my job is to take my position, whatever that is, my abilities as a company, and to put those books that I carry out there front and center and get them the most exposure possible.
That's kind of obvious, yeah.
And so, but there are publishers out there who don't do that. They don't feel that that's they don't feel that that's a part of a publisher's job. And I think that
that's all right. See how long they last.
Yeah. I think that's where they're all heading toward disaster in that aspect, because they're going to eventually find out that their talent is not, is going to be, they're going to leave. They're going to hit the road, because they're not going to like that. They're seeing other people. This is a small industry, so the people talk all the time. Oh, what deal you got over there? Oh, well, I got this deal. That's better than my deal. I'm out of here.
I don't know how much of that still occurs nowadays. I haven't really been that deep into the behind the scenes of every publisher.
Right.
I haven't been invited to do any kind of work for any outside publisher for quite a while. So, like I said, I've been out for the last 10 years printing my own paper. Mm-hmm. I barely had time with that and the commercial work to do a comic story that I could print in my own paper or throw together into a collection. So, I couldn't tell you. I imagine it's just as cutthroat as it used to be, but
Mhm.
back when we were printing Arrow, we were cutting everything 60/40. I believe 60/40 to the creator.
Mhm.
And we didn't have people jumping ship from, somebody else's publisher to bring us their book to start printing. We went out and created our own titles,
Let me give you a hypothetical situation.
or they brought us a property to print.
I'll give you a hypothetical situation that's based on a real one.
But back then, there wasn't a whole lot of profit to share either. So there you go.
Let's say I'm your publisher.
Uh-huh.
You're giving me name a title of yours, The Fool.
Squirrel Guy. Who
Okay,
knows?
Squirrel Guy. And I'm printing Squirrel Guy for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to do a Kickstarter or even an Indiegogo to increase, exposure. And
wouldn't that be the property's owner's responsibility?
Well, one would think, but this is a real world yet hypothetical scenario because this did happen.
Okay.
And I am the publisher, and I'm controlling the crowdfunding campaign.
All right.
And you
So already the property creator has lost control.
already, yes, you've already lost control. And I fund your project. Your project gets funded. In fact, we start hitting stretch goals.
Okay.
A couple things happen. One, you have no control over the stretch goals.
We start celebrating. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, we celebrate, but then you had no control over what the stretch goals were. So I say, hey, you're gonna get a we hit this, you're gonna get a print from
from Gosh. Go ahead.
Yeah, from Gosh.
The mighty Gosh. The mighty
Gosh is gonna do this print for you.
Uh-huh.
And I told the fan, now you don't agree with that.
Because I hate the mighty Gosh.
You hate the mighty Gosh. You don't give him at all. You hate his artwork.
The mighty Gosh stole my girlfriend at one point.
Yeah. It stole her, and
I caught the mighty Gosh and my girlfriend in bad situation, compromising positions.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you don't like him, but I say, hey,
involving incredibly large sex toys. Anyway, go ahead.
But the mighty Gosh is a friend of mine, so the print's going out.
Uh-huh.
And then there's some other things that you're like, okay, you're on the fence about, but okay, whatever, like keychains, other, little, bells and whistles.
Uh-huh.
And then something happens where, hey, we got our stretch goals. You get your money, I get mine. We split it. Split it 50-50. And then you start getting messages from backers, and they want to know, hey, where the hell's my book? Whose responsibility is to make those backers happy?
That publisher kind of started a cluster there the first minute he split the money up.
Mm-hmm.
So he should have printed everything that, it's the publisher's fault if the publisher started. Whoever's in charge of the Kickstarter is the guy that's in charge of fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then again, I kept all of those problems from happening to me. I've been through my printing career, I've been burned mostly very little because I printed my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to see what money was coming back, and I was transparent with myself almost the entire way. But the times I did deal with a company, there was a few people that were incredibly honest and upfront and incredibly transparent, and a few idiots that, I wish I could have sued, but one of the guys was in Canada. So it's like, sue me if you want. You can't. So anyway,
now
I didn't get involved too much with that because I was more looking to print myself. I was a self-publisher. So and like I think I told you yesterday, my biggest problem with Arrow Comics is I wanted to print too many other people's stuff.
Yeah,
I should have concentrated on my own stuff and just, scheduled out a certain amount of time to do my own work, so that my stuff definitely made it to the printer.
Do you think the best small press or indie publishers are creators themselves?
It's getting to be that way. Look at the people that are making livings out there, and there are a lot more people than anybody realized that are out there making livings. They're controlling their own products. Who are the Loves, Comfort, and
Comfort and Atom? Is that it?
Yes, Comfort and Atom. They're surviving. They're making a living doing their comic work, but they are in control. And they're out there on their own cottage industry that nobody wants to talk to or talk about. Pluto's the same way. How often do you see Bleeding Cool talk about Coffin Comics? Doesn't happen very often. But Pluto's out there just quietly churning them out for a year. And each time he's clearing what, 200 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason he's still on Kickstarter, I think, is because he was grandfathered in and he makes Kickstarter some money. He has proven that that Kickstarter makes money, or they would have stopped him a while ago, because he's still doing Lady Death. There's a skimpy girl in a bikini.
Lewis says promotion, marketing, scouting, production, editorial, creative. Even the image books are often social media backed. And
where's Trico? We've only got 3 people watching us.
Yeah, I sent Trico a link. I actually sent him a join link, so I'm not sure if he
send it to him again.
He saw it. He read it.
Huh? Maybe he's having a hard time getting online.
Yeah.
But anyway. But yeah, that's print yourself. Cut all that problem out. Do your own not Kickstarter, but do your own crowdfunding campaign and do it yourself. That's the way it's going to go. And then you can, once you get to a point where you want to start a second title, then you can hire somebody to do whatever work you don't want to do on it and print it yourself. So that's what all these guys, Russell, I keep calling him Russell, Richard Meyer, and Ethan is doing. Ethan's got his next. He's not saying a lot, but I bet he's got his next 4 or 5 projects already thought up, and he's just quietly. He's live tonight, but he's been working real hard to get Cyberfrog to press so that he could get Rainbow Brute done, because that's going to be $500,000 probably.
All of my next 5 projects are thought out too. I just lack the ability to go sit down and do them.
Well, you're 11 books behind already.
Yeah.
So, what is that? 16, 17, and 18? I know what I want to do next. I don't know. I'm working my way towards it, but I probably won't be able to concentrate on it till after Saginaw is over. So I spent most of the day today coordinating Saginaw and coordinating a commercial art shirt job for a large corporation. So, medium-sized corporation. So I've got a bunch of shirts that I've got to print for them. So, and I've still got a bunch of invoices floating out there, which dismays the heck out of me. But that's my commercial side, which we are not here to talk about. We are here to talk about the comic industry.
I just think I think that's now. Next question is, so you get tired of dealing with me and the fact that I stuck.
We're still on our hypothetical here, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I stuck. My gosh, this is our print in your
the Mighty Gosh.
Mighty Gosh, yeah. And not only that,
that cheating bastard.
Yeah,
anyway.
As another stretch goal, the Mighty Gosh got your cover of your book. So I've already,
Well, at that point, the creator has lost control and needs to get the hell away from it. They need to cancel the campaign, be done.
Oh no! It's too late for that. I got in the contract, yo. You can't get out. You're stuck. So let's say
he's stuck. Was there a clause in there for the cover? Did this guy not read his contract? Did I not read my contract with you and let this Mighty Gosh guy get away with crap?
I think that you didn't. I don't think you. You may have read your contract, but you didn't think it would come to this.
Is there a physical contract? That's the next thing, because everything in the comic biz has all been most everything, especially in the smaller publishers, is all verbal contracts and nothing really written down. If nothing's written down, he needs to yank his property and run.
So let's say you do that. You yank your property, you run.
Mm-hmm. Let him cancel the book and say bad things about you for a while and just kick the book out on your own.
No, Andy. I am, you know,
you can't sue me.
I'm a publisher. I'm cutthroat. I'm going to sell that book. I've already invested money into it. I've already got backers who demand it. Let me tell you something. When let me do the presidential point. For anybody listening on Indie Vote Radio, I'm doing the presidential point. I always follow through.
Sure you do.
I took your money. You're going to get your book. Then you find out that I am selling said book at conventions.
Okay.
What do you do to me?
What can you do to him? All depends on if that contract's real or not.
Mm-hmm.
So if the contract's real, it's his fault. Immediately you stop work and doing anything else for that property. It's time to create a new property and, turn your back on that publisher, make a big deal about how you were screwed over and go on your way.
Mm.
What else are you going to do?
Badmouth him?
You can badmouth him all you want. I'd create a funny book and pick on him. But that's just me.
Yeah.
That's what was it Glorious Godfrey that Kirby created to take out some of his angst. And I'm sure he's not the only one that's had that happen too. Look at that CG book that Umbrella guy is doing currently on his crowd. I swear his crowdfunding is as big as it is specifically because of that book. Because everybody wants to poke fun at these idiot anti-CGers.
I wonder if
which are apparently crawling under rocks as we speak. So who knows?
Well, I think that
by the time it comes out, all of these people might be just flashes of ideas in the history of comic book. Yeah. Except for Wade and Simone, who actually saved the industry.
I think that people are starting to realize that this has never been about a political affiliation. This situation came from people just wanting good comics to read, and people are waking up. I mean, it's not about, like some of these new fans, they want you to write to their expectations and not what the story that you have planned.
Well, some of these crazy publishers want full approval on your critiques too, but that doesn't mean it's right.
That's fair. That's fair.
That doesn't. We're in a time where a lot of these milk toasts insist on having their way. It's just, dude, you gotta understand how business works. If you can't understand how business works, there's the door. That's what Samedi had to deal with Alterna when he told people that he wanted a social networking policy, which makes sense. You don't go through and chain block potential customers from being able to reach you and ask you questions. You chain or you block the individual troll that has given you problems.
Right.
But so many, which dismays me, so many idiots out there can't understand simple business that they, he's telling us what to do and what not to do. He's such an ass. We're not going to have anything more to do. He must be a Nazi because he's telling us what to do. Just idiots. That's all. Immature brats that need to have their ass spanked, probably. Some sort of disciplinary action. Not. It's too many of them would probably enjoy that. So.
I started on Twitter very a long time ago, and I followed a bunch of comic artists. I didn't care who you were. I would just follow comic artists because hey, this is access to comic artists and writers. This is great. And it must have been 2015, the first time that I logged on to someone's Twitter feed, a professional's Twitter feed, and saw that I was blocked, and I had no idea why.
Yeah, I caught that a couple times on my stuff. I just figured it's because they didn't like who I was following and they blockchained me because that person, all of that person's following, or people following that person were all blocked. So
Yeah.
screw these people. I don't want to, most of these people that are like that don't buy comics anyway.
Yeah.
So what?
Very fair.
Let them go. Let them run off in their own little private corner of the universe and do the nut job things that they need to do.
Lewis says it depends on what the contract reads, but I bet my attorney could prove the hypothetical publisher in breach on multiple fronts.
It all depends on if the person read the contract or not and how sly the publisher was. Because there's been some pretty crappy contracts. I passed on a couple of them.
Do you think
Platinum Studios? Anyway, I can say that because they're no longer in business.
Do you think, Randy, that has there ever been a publisher that is also the printer that you know of?
Yeah, what's her face? Used to print his own stuff. I want to say Hicks. The guy who does Blue Line Pro.
Okay, Lewis, you're in the chat too. You're good.
He used to print his
Fact-checking.
own. He used to print his own stuff. So
Yeah,
Lewis is the only one in the chat room, by the way.
yeah.
We've still only got 3 people watching us.
Lewis, let us know.
I need to jump over to my
printing.
Facebook and see if there's anybody at all watching us.
Yeah, printing.
Trico, was he? Whoa. Okay. I can't answer that except for in type. Anyway, go ahead. No, don't let me stop you. We're running into dead air for your radio listeners.
Yeah, I wonder. I feel that might be a little bit too much power for a publisher to have, for the publisher to also be the printer.
Why?
I get why it saves money. But
If you're like Comics Wellspring,
they're not a
well,
publisher, though.
I shouldn't say that either because I like those people and I don't want them to take it derogatory. But really, all you have to do is rent a glorified Xerox, and you can be your own publisher.
You mean printer, right?
You're your own printer. Yeah. It's just an extra headache, the presses and all that.
Yeah.
Mike, thanks. Sorry, I had computer trouble. Just getting caught up with things. Oh, okay. Anyway. Suddenly I've got, he just saw it too. Trico is online. He's just not in the chat. Weird. Anyway.
Let's see.
Get
here.
Dave Brown in here someday. If not today. Anyway, where were we?
I was
Industry
just
talk.
wondering-
You were just wondering.
I was just wondering, if you think that that's a problem, if your publisher can also do the printing as well.
No. No, it's just convenience. That's all it is. He doesn't have to run to the printer, When I did the paper, my printer was 20 minutes away from my house. I'd run them over. I ran them over every single file that we had printed from that place.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also ran over with a check and I liked the people that were there and we got to talk. And, there were times that I talked my rep at the printer was so much more friendly than any Diamond rep that I've ever had to deal with, because the Diamond reps were all snooty. There's a definite wall between you and them. And the printer here, he wants to listen to your problems, and he gives his experience back to you because he wants your business. He wants to print the next item that you want done, the 10th next item you want done. And I brought him more business outside of doing the paper, like the Preservers book, because I like the people, and we could have farmed the deal around, and maybe I don't think we'd have been able to find it cheaper, because I had a reputation up with that printer, and he gave us a good deal on printing those comics. I think we get comics printed through him easier than what Samedi does with his printer. But he's built up a reputation with his newsprint publisher too. Not only that, but he's gone through and figured out how to manipulate the colors on his comics in order to make the greens and blues and browns pop as if they were on solid white paper. So, he's made a big deal about that too, because he's figured out how to manipulate the CMYK colors to their maximum effect for printing on newsprint.
I got the preservers here from the book that you do with the former folks, and
they give that book away. You go into their welcome center. You say, "Hey, you got an issue of the preservers," and they'll look at you and say, "What one? You want all 4? You want all 5? You want the Urban Trail special? We can give you that." So, yeah, it's all good.
Have you noticed any changes from when you print the book or you color the book to when it gets printed?
Oh yeah. There's a big drop down between. It's all converting RGB color to CMYK. The greens, the blues, and the browns get duller. Mm-hmm. You just have to be aware that they're there and use the over bright greens. As I've used so many different shades of green that look awesome on the computer, but when they print out in the book, it all looks kind of flat. I can go through and do whatever tone work. See, if I knew what Samedi knows, I'd be able to manipulate that better. But I'm waiting for him to do an instructional video on how that works, because he seems to be incredibly helpful on his channel, and he's been covering different topics, and eventually he's going to get around to it. So, or, if all else fails, we'll just invite him here on the chat and get him cornered and have him explain it for everybody, if he's not going to do a video on it himself.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
It'd be nice to get Peter on here and talk to him.
I'd like to get on his channel. He gets 300 people. Yeah. We will eventually. But anyway,
eventually. We have to do something really controversial, which is coming.
Is that what it is?
It's coming.
You're just looking for it?
With my impending mental breakdown.
Is that what it is? You're bound to say something super controversial.
Yeah, and everyone's gonna flock here to hear it, and that's when the shit hits the fan.
And do you have this breakdown scheduled so that we could be ready?
No, it's impending.
It's impending.
It's impending. So yeah, I think that they probably I think newsprint, it looks really good. I know Moonstone, but I thought that was newsprint. Apparently that wasn't newsprint they were printing on.
It probably was at one point or another, or probably more than one point or another, because Moonstone kind of went in waves. They're not still printing, are they?
I don't believe so, no.
I don't think so either. But I bet they did a lot overseas. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Lewis says Gallant Comics, Barry Gregory, owner of Kablam, does align with Steven as the artist. Either John, a man, amazing man, miniature man, some other stuff.
He does. Okay. Yeah.
And then he also says in regards to printing, there's a red shift between RGB and CMYK. Plus, it can depend on the computer screen color settings versus that of your printer. It can lead to a darker color shift. That's
why they're charging $8 for a comic. The people who are currently printing E-Man, or did he say Amen?
Amen.
Okay, that's not the new Charlton stuff that Mort Todd is doing. So I bought one of those books. That was enough.
So. It was enough. Mm-hmm. Have you ever picked up a book and said that's it? One issue and you said that's it?
Say what?
Have you picked up a lot of issues like that where you pick up a comic, you read the first issue, and you say, that's it, I can't take anymore? Well,
it's usually, not all the time, but it's usually followed by, why the hell did I pay money for this piece of trash? Unlike Russell Myers, I don't tear it in half, though. I just stash it in a long box. Russell, there I am again.
Yeah.
What's his face? Yeah, boy, Zach. I'm just going to call him Zach.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know where I'm getting Russell Meyer from, but anyway, doesn't matter. Your boy, Zach.
Yeah.
Richard C. Meyer. Let's call him C. Meyer. But okay. It's like Seymour. They're different. But yeah, he'd tear it up, or who was it? Yellow Flash, I think, took a knife to a couple of issues until everybody started screaming that it's all violence towards women. He stabbed that woman in the throat. He's violent against women because he wasn't looking where he was stabbing the comic. So he'd take it and rip it to shreds in order to try to make his point. And it's like, dude, don't do that. You're just going to get yourself in trouble. That's what he did. He stopped doing it. But yeah, what you have to do to get attention, I still think we need referee shirts with whistles. Yeah. We can be on here industry talk and calling plays. How stupid people are, have a red card, have a yellow card. Keep track, where they are on the field.
Yeah.
So none of these guys are gaining any ground. None of them. Yeah. Absolutely none. We can play referee.
Penalize 50 yards that way.
Man, they'd be out of the stadium, a lot of these guys. Out of the stadium. Just leave. Just stop. Just go home. Let's get you that contract canceled and just go. What's his face? Why Vertigo is still around is beyond me. That kind of stuff. Why DC's decided they have to do DC Zombies, beyond me. Why they're letting Tom King completely destroy Batman in whatever way he's going to do it. Are they going to break his back again? Is he going to quit? Is he going to decide that he needs Xanax? What? Do you know what Tom King is doing to Batman?
I have no idea what he's doing.
Whatever it is, they're letting him do it, and he's like going, "I'm going to change Batman forever, or at least for a while." It's like, yeah, okay, buddy. We can redraw him as Robert Pattinson. Who knows? Same thing with Hickman. Then Hickman comes up and goes, "Hey, let's restart the X-Men." Okay, Mr. Hickman, whatever you want. So they're stopping all of the X-Men line. You know that, right?
Yep. And
letting Hickman do his own thing. It's like, oh, cool. I wish I could do that. I'd put him on a separate Earth. But that's me. I'd have him start over.
We messed up. Go back to the beginning. I'm looking at IndieCron here.
They've done that already. They just can't stop. They keep doing it and doing it. Huh. Jeez. Anyway.
Yeah, IndieCron. I'm looking at IndieCron. I'm looking at the numbers here. Pretty impressive numbers.
Are you looking at IndieCron or IVC2?
IndieCron.
Are they doing the entire industry numbers for the year, or are you looking at the monthly thing?
I believe it's monthly. Yeah.
Are they climbing?
Well, let's see here. It's in demand all-time list. Excuse me.
Matt Bush posted an update. He's divorced now,
Is he?
Yes.
Oh, that's
love of his life. Boom, done.
It's very sad to hear.
It is.
Yeah, I don't see the Ferryman number 2.
Your IndieCron?
Yeah. Which is fun.
Ferryman 2, that's a Indiegogo.
Yep.
IndieCron? Is it a Y or IE?
INDIE.
All one word, right?
Like us here at Indie Volts. And you can check out indievolt.com for the latest in indie comic book news. That's right. indievolt.com. And while you're there, make sure you check out IndieVolt TV on your Roku devices. IndieVolt TV streaming over the top free entertainment for your eyes, for your pleasure. For you.
And now back to our program. I see IndieCron. Ending date. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I thought this was the number site, and it's not. It's the, hey, pick up these Indiegogo books site.
Yeah, they have some.
There's another one that's, I think it's comicsgateonly.com, something like that. That's got all the Comicsgate people on there. Lone Star, Soul of the Soldier. Yes. Blood, what? Oh, Hunt. Okay. Blood Hunt. Wicked. They got $1,000. Shinobi Sasquatch, book 1. That's climbing. Vestige, that looks kind of cool. That's got a decent idea. And John Malin, the guy who does Graveyard Shift, is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Jungle Comics 1 from Chuck Dixon. The Berserkernaut. No. Oh, Jeff Lafferty. Oh, that's interesting. Jeff Lafferty. He did some work for Tales from the Aniverse. Good on him. That's got to be crazy looking. If it's the same Jeff Lafferty. I need to click on that and take a look at it. Berserkernaut. Yeah, it sure does look like his stuff.
I don't see it.
Berserkernaut. Book 1. Funding is $8,050. There's a basic elevator pitch. Where's the campaign button? Indiegogo. Boom. There we are.
See here, the Ballad of Dusty Tortillas.
Yes. That is Jeff Lafferty, all right. I'm Jeff Lafferty. I'm a comics creator. Go, Jeff.
What's the name of the book?
The Berserkernaut.
Is it
It's in
active
color.
or
It's
in
in
demand?
color, too. I'm looking. Now, let me climb back up here. 2 campaigns, Boulder, United States, 310 backers.
Oh, so you're on
It's in-
indie.
It's in demand. It's in demand.
Oh.
So he's done with his basic campaign. It's very interesting looking. He's got a unique look to his stuff. He was only trying to raise $3,500, and he ended up raising $8,050.
Okay.
So he'll have a little bit of money to play with in order to pump it up. 310 backers. So you think he'll print on demand?
We'll only print 25 is the issue.
Is that what it is? I hope not. I hope not. He's already got 310 backers. Good on him, though. That's nice to see. It's nice to see somebody that that worked on, you worked with a few years ago climb to doing their own stuff. That's awesome.
This is from Comics Forge. Jeff Lafferty, the Berserkernaut.
Yeah.
It's got a real kind of hard edge to it. I like that.
Yeah. He's got a unique look to his stuff. And I think I bumped out my IndieCron link. So we now have 4 people watching us. So Trico's either joined in or Dave the Supreme, perhaps. Whoever you are, number 4, please sign into the chat. We're all friends here. Don't be afraid.
Good stuff. I like it. It looks pretty good. But I
look at all these books though. Anchor Face. All these really crazy books. Who was it? Edwin Boyette was asking if you have a campaign that you're going to be doing in the near future to let them know so that they can post it up on here on IndieCron.
Oh, this Asami, Children of Rusu, looks pretty good. 12,000 funding, 407 backers.
Where is that?
It is on IndieCron, but I can link it to it.
No. Just tell me. I'm looking on IndieCron right now.
Yeah. Asami. It's
ASUMI.
ASAMI.
I see they don't have Tucci's book listed here, huh?
No, I'm not sure how IndieCron does it. I'm not sure how they list it.
I think they list it because they want to pull attention to it that they are CG or CG friendly.
Huh.
Red Rooster's on there. Brand is on there. Black and White Remastered is still on there. He should have fulfilled that by now. I wonder what's taking him. That should be out. There it is, Asami.
Yeah, looks good.
Children of Rusu. Oh, yeah. Let me check the Indiegogo. Sorry, I'm yawning into the mic. That's not good.
Bro. So, Randy, when can we expect?
Oh, he's got 12,000.
Yeah. When can we expect your Indiegogo campaign to start? Have you made a decision?
I didn't want to announce anything until I'm working on it. I really don't want to start a Indiegogo campaign until it's so close to done. It's not even funny.
So your thing is you want to do it first. You want to get the book.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. Well, it's going to take a while for me to build up recognition again because I've been in a closed box called Genesee County for the last decade. That there's not a whole lot of people outside of the county You know, there's a few old time comic collectors that still know who I am, but not a lot, not enough to support, I think, an Indiegogo campaign of any success. But
Oh, yeah, you've been in the
we need to get
self-employed
out there. We need to talk to more people. We need to widen our social circle a little and let people get to know who we are a little. And then, you know, once I've monetized a YouTube account, then I'll start thinking about doing a campaign.
You were in a
I think that's the way to go.
self-imposed exile, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess you could say that. I just got so fed up with Diamond, you know, and so fed up with the comic market and having to deal with the damn hoops in order to exist in the comic market that they're just I saw there was no way to self-publish and win. Except there had to be a better and a different way, and that different way for me was to try doing the newspaper for 100 issues and see if I can, you know, bang a living off of that. And when that doesn't work, well, all of a sudden the grass is greener on the Indiegogo side of the fence, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time to rethink strategies, maybe change course, and old dog, new tricks. So that's the way that goes. And hey, maybe my YouTube channel, it definitely isn't going to climb in subscribers unless I start putting more content up. So I need to start doing that. But every time I turn around, there's another commercial job or a show I have to promote. Mm-hmm. We'll see how Saginaw goes. So I'm hoping it'll turn into an annual event. But if it does, I might end up closing down the September show just to give myself a little bit more free time. It all depends on how the September show goes this year.
Yikes.
I don't want to say never, you know, but now that the paper's shut down, I was looking at that September show as being the boost for the paper to get it through the winter. Right. And last year that didn't work. That did not work for last year, which is why the paper is no longer coming out. One of the many reasons why the paper is no longer coming out. But you know, if it's more hassle than what it's worth, then it might be time to just do one show in Flint and one show in Saginaw. And if I wanted to do a third show, concentrate in another locale. I understand Lapeer might have a farmer's market. Or Bad Axe might be interesting. You know, we could always do ThumbCon. That would be fun. Do it up in Port Austin, make everybody drive to see us. You want to be there. You know, you want to be there in Michigan. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah. Way up at the tip of the thumb. It's beautiful up there, but man, you drive down the east side of that state, it's desolation. You ever done that? You ever drive the Huron coastline?
No.
How far north have you ever been in Michigan?
Oh, I mean, I've been, I don't know. You know what? I mean, gosh, I think
Do you get out much? Do you get away from Detroit at all?
Yeah. I think
you get any farther north than Flint?
I think the furthest north I've gotten.
I used to have a friend who had a shirt printing business here on the north side of Flint. Mm-hmm. That was from Haiti. And he said that he wouldn't travel any farther north than Bay City because he was a little afraid for his, you know, that his skin color would bring violence. I just kind of laughed at him.
Oh, well, you know, man, he's not wrong. But no, I think the furthest I've been, the furthest I've been maybe Traverse City.
For the con.
Yeah.
And then right back home.
Oh, yes.
You stop at Turtle Creek at all?
No. My mother went to Turtle Creek because she went with me once. She went to Turtle Creek. They have a bus that goes from from that convention center from the resort to the
I bet it does. I bet they're really happy to take people who stay at that resort over to Turtle Creek. Yeah. That's a nice casino, but I'm not very lucky there. Same thing with Saguenay up here. That's just north of Bay City. I'm not very lucky there either. I've never been lucky there. It's like kind of a money sucker. Mm. But anyway, that's off the industry talk news too. You need to make a casino tour before we get back. That's all I'll say. You need to do a casino tour around the state and visit it. You ever been to the bridge? You ever seen the Mackinac Bridge? You can be honest.
Yeah, I've seen the Mackinac Bridge.
Yeah, and I mean, other than pictures.
Oh well, no.
Because you don't really recognize the scope of it. You know, when you see pictures of Mount Rushmore, you get this picture in your mind, or Statue of Liberty, about how it looks. And then when you actually see it, you go, wow, that's really small compared to all the pictures that you see. But you see the pictures of the Mackinac Bridge, and it's bigger than it looks in photographs. The damn thing's 5 miles long.
That's my it's funny you mentioned that. My wife's grandfather, he brought my son back a shirt, and he's pretty well traveled guy, and at least in the United States, and he brought him the shirt from
San Francisco.
Well, he's been in San Francisco so many times, but he always tells me gosh, I'm gonna have to look it up, but I'll tell you this: he brought him back a shirt from the Crazy Horse Monument. That's
yeah, I've been out there. Yeah,
and he was telling me about it. And he's like, you don't recognize the scope until you
really see it.
You see it.
But it's like Mount Rushmore is exactly the opposite, because you see all these great big pictures, and the faces are big, but when you go to look at it from the park, you're looking at it from a distance anyway, and it doesn't look nearly as big as the photographs are, because it's like in the photographs, they get halfway between like the park and the actual monument before they take their pictures, it seems. But when you're standing there in the actual national park and you're looking at the monument, it's not as big as it looks in the photographs.
It's like he always takes pictures. I think I'm not sure if this is the Mackinac Bridge. I'm looking on his Facebook now, because he's always traveling. I mean, he hooks up his RV, and he's always out there traveling, and he's always sending pictures back. But he sent as a matter of fact, there he is at Mount Rushmore.
Sorry to change the subject, but Trico says the wife's got some issues. So
okay.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I'm not going to say that online, but he had some news that's not good. So she's kind of sensitive right now, and he's trying to cheer her up. So he's not going to be online.
Understood, Drago. Please
definitely
give your wife our regards, and you guys
deepest regards. That's not good. I hate seeing that, but every life change like that it's got potential for growth and to turn for the better. A lot of times it usually does. When the wife, for example, when the wife got ushered out of her job, it took her a few months, but she got better. She found better work, better employment. So,
yeah. Where in the heck is Winslow, Arizona?
Winslow?
Well, because okay. Here's the thing. My wife's
don't you have Google Maps on your smartphone? Just call that baby up.
And he says, standing on the corner, and just standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona.
Yeah. That's an old Eagles song, dude. That's a pop rock band from back in the 80s. With Don Hensley, the guy who sang well, anyway, they did a lot of songs back in the 80s, and one of the lyrics on the song is standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Because every time he goes there, he takes a picture, and apparently they've got a girl, and they got a truck, and there's a mannequin in the back of the truck or something.
Yeah.
It's the girl.
There's a girl out there. I don't remember how the rest of it goes.
Yeah. I don't like it.
You don't like it? Oh, son, I don't like it. No, sir, I don't like it. Standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona. I can't remember it now. Anyway.
He'll probably have to watch this, and I believe he watches sometimes after like the next morning. He'll get a kick out of this.
It's an old Eagles tune anyway. Old band. Yeah. Probably before your time.
Yeah.
They sang a number of songs. Their greatest hits album is the #1 selling album of all time.
Is it?
Oh yeah. Eagles' greatest hits. Hits. I said hits.
Yeah, you know, and I keep thinking like, you know, I tell my wife, you know, we ought to just travel with him one year, like when he's doing stuff. Because here, I'll hold on 1 second. I know it maybe guess I don't really let's see here if my computer will do it. It's
Gabe's in the chat. Don't get too excited. It's just me. He says, all right, Gabe. Thanks for joining us at least.
Hello, Gabe. How are you?
You're happy number 4. So still watching and listening and pointing and laughing. It's all good.
All right. So okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, there we go. He does a lot of traveling, goes to the RV, and they get to see cool stuff. What was this? Washakie, Tennessee, Wyoming. Now I do Comic Cons. I've never been to Wyoming.
Washakie 10.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I've been to Wyoming. Oh, that's awesome. I've been through Wyoming before. When we went out to see Rushmore, we took 2 weeks. We drove out on 90 and came back on US 80. And it's a trip I recommend to everybody. You go out to Yellowstone and spend a couple days driving through the park. That's 60 square miles of wildlife and, you know, untouched wilderness. That's awesome.
Yeah,
you pulled that up on your screen cap, huh?
Yeah, this is
at Yellowstone. There we go.
Yeah, this is my wife's grandfather.
Everybody has to get out to Yellowstone at least once in their life, just like they need to do the San Diego Con once in their life, at least once.
When I go, I know what'll happen.
You'll be accosted by a bear?
No, it's gonna be when it goes up.
Oh, when it blows up. It's right there, buddy, right there in that go back one. That's the lake bed. That's part of the basin. All of those mountains out there, that's all part of the basin for that volcano. They don't figure that's going to go up for another, I don't know, 200,000 years, something like that.
Hey, look at that. Right there by the roadside.
That's a bison, sir.
The bison? I thought it was a buffalo.
Both. It's the same name.
Okay.
There's a specific bison now because they have mutated, so evolved, I guess you would say, so much. There's a specific bison to that general area in at Yellowstone. They're not nearly as big as, for example, when Lewis and Clark first ran across them, because way back during those days, the Indian nations they would only kill 1 or 2 of them in order to build a teepee. Some of them things were 10 feet, 12 feet tall. They're as big as a 1-story house.
Oof.
But they have since, because we went through, I should say, the stupid white man Anglos came through and completely decimated the bison population. And they've been trying to grow them back ever since. But I'll tell you, out in Yellowstone, I saw from a distance a herd of about 100, 120 of them running. Because there's a lot of plains, a lot of plateau out in a certain part of the park. Park's got every type of topography you could ever imagine, and you haven't experienced it until you see it with your own eyes. 100, 120 buffalo all running across the plains and then changing direction all at once. It's the scariest, most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life.
Now, are those guys just getting ready to shoot up on the side of the road?
No, they're just smoking.
Okay.
No, they don't shoot up on the side of the road. They protect those things. Shoot out sulfur and hot water is so hot that they can literally boil you in a second. They've had people that have fallen into them. I've got a book. In my personal morbid curiosity, I like to collect self-published books from different locales about the area. You know, I find that really fascinating because you get people from the area writing about the area who've been in the area most of their lives. And I've got a book, self-published book, that I picked up when I was out there that listed all of the deaths at Yellowstone up until that point and what happened to the people. And falling into one of those pools, there was a wide open pool, and it looks like it's cool, fresh water, but it's actually sulfuric acid.
Oh,
And
nice.
if you go swimming, you don't come out,
Yeah.
and you will in fact completely dissolve, including your clothes.
Here's Devil's Den, Wyoming. That looks scary. That's a
Yeah.
big drop.
Yep, big drop.
Big drop.
There's a Hell's Half Acre out there too. That is, you have these plains that are completely flat, and then you come up to an area like your previous picture. It just drops off, and it's just wild, craggly mountains like you see there in that
kind of like
picture.
this right here.
No, not quite like that, because that's beautiful. The other thing looks like you go in and it's just this small patch of rocks and basic hell. That I've seen. That's that's not Devil's Tower. That's
Mammoth, Wyoming.
that's a sulfur spring that's built up over the years. That's the crystal, the rock formations that spill out around it, cool and build up. That's why it eventually overruns the trees and stuff there, and it's all super hot when it first comes out. That's what that is. Cool. You don't want to go walking across that. That's a nice lattice work. They've got that all roped off, because that's really beautiful in person, and it's a lot bigger than what it looks there in person.
That pretty cool. I like that.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Yellowstone is incredible.
Minerva.
We've always talked about going back there. Once you go there, you'll always want to go back.
Yeah, see,
especially if you enjoy scenery and wilderness.
Oh, look at that.
That's that spring. That's one of those springs I was telling you about.
Sulfuric acid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so.
Yep.
A drop in there is nice little wash in there is not going to help you.
Well, you wouldn't feel it for very long. I mean, just a couple of split seconds, pretty much, and then you're done, and then you'll start dissolving. They had somebody accidentally fall into one of those, I think a year or two ago, and they were able to see how he didn't survive. You know, eventually you become a puddle of ooze.
Yikes.
That's inside one of the lodges there at Yellowstone, that woodwork. Yeah. Some amazing work like that. You go up north, there's a beautiful Polish restaurant right on the almost on the lake of Lake Michigan called Legs, that serves authentic Polish cuisine. That has woodwork inside like that. It's one great big log cabin built by I think he was a Quaker who was incredibly eccentric.
Here's a pair of stone ovaries.
That's not what they call it. And again, that's a sulfur formation.
Oh, look at that.
It's like that. That's another drop off. That's a sulfur lake.
And that I would think, oh, fresh water, thank God.
Yeah, well, they have that all fenced off too.
Right.
See, in the shadows there is a great big fence. They try to keep people back. Every once in a while, you get idiots though, who go off there, and it just takes one wrong step, and that's why you always stay on the trail. It's like sound of thunder. You don't want to vary off the trail for fear of stepping on a butterfly and changing the entire timeline. Well, in Yellowstone, you don't want to step off the trail for fear you might fall into a sulfur acid or a sulfur deposit or a hot geyser deposit that's grown up underneath that particular plot without them actually knowing it, because it's really odd topography there.
Yeah.
And they find all sorts of new organisms and stuff when they're able to pull samples out of like the side of those lake beds there that you just had.
Yeah.
You know, they found a couple of incredibly unique enzymes out of there. Well, there's a explanation of the pool if you go back. But yeah, that's Old Faithful, I believe. Crested Pool, superheated waters. Those have been bubbling since the dawn of time. So, and I've been relatively untouched because anything that falls into it dissolves. And the wildlife almost knows better. Every once in a while, when we were there on the acid beds, they had a couple of bison that had wandered off there. And they were an example of
why you don't do it?
Yeah, being eaten away. Yeah. There was a couple of corpses there.
Throwing coins, rocks, or other objects into the pool is illegal.
That's because they want to keep it as pristine and original as possible. Besides, you probably toss a penny in there, it'll turn into a pool of melted copper in no time. Just that's inside one of the lodges.
Old Faithful Watch.
Yeah, we stayed outside of Yellowstone just barely. In fact, we had old T-Mobile service at the time, an old flip phone, and on the West Yellowstone city side, we had service. But you walk across the street, technically you were in the park, and you could see the bars literally drop to zero as you crossed into the park because the park doesn't have any towers in it.
The Continental Divide.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like a war. Sounds like Marvel's next book, next event book.
I believe that's the a high point in the continent where water starts or stops flowing to the left and flows to the right. Not really. I really don't know why. It's like Australia. When you flush the toilet, the water flows down in the opposite direction. That's a big cone.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
At least they have it labeled. But anyway, in the park, they give you a flyer that's like half of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper as you go into the park, reminding you that the wildlife is wild and that they are not responsible if you go up and try to pet a bison and suddenly you get gorged. That it's your own damn foolishness.
Yeah, there's a couple right there.
And to leave the bison alone. Bison have right away when they're on the roads. If you catch them, and we did that when we were in Yellowstone. We were in a long trail because they'll walk right up to your car.
Yeah, there's one now.
Yeah, he's coming up. But in the old days, they could have charged and tipped those over without a doubt. We had a big one walking up a road in the opposite direction down a 2-lane road, and there was like 20 cars behind it, and it has to go slow because the thing doesn't move. You can honk at it, and it just looks back at you, stops and looks at you, and then keeps moving. So I had a bison probably less than 5 feet away from me, walking right next to the car, and he stopped right at my window and turned and looked at me, and then turned back and just kept walking. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. Delicate arch.
Yeah.
Please don't touch. If it tips over, you're gonna get your ass fined.
This is a middle finger. I don't like it.
Yes, it is.
It's
That's making a statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been out there. That's Moab, Utah.
We need to do a con in Utah.
I've been through Salt Lake City, but it was mostly at night. Wasn't very impressive. The lake was more impressive than the city.
Hey, Randy.
Yeah.
Hey, Randy.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Mike. You like rock formations?
Yeah, I mean, some of these. See, I wouldn't stand under that. That looks like it's ready to fall. And but now
it's probably been standing there, buffeted by the wind for thousands of years.
I have.
But you've seen every Roadrunner cartoon there's possibly out there. There you go. That's all that topography. You look close enough, you'll see Wile E. Coyote running around on a rocket.
Yeah, there he is, right there. See? There
yeah, right down there in the bottom. Yeah, I see him right there.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because my mother is a big fan of westerns. A lot of westerns filmed out here,
Not anymore. Not anymore. There's hardly a western ever being filmed anywhere. No, the majority of the westerns were all filmed off of Hollywood lot out West Coast. Every once in a while, some of the bigger movies would do a location shoot to a unique place like this, so that they can get that obligatory picture of the man riding his horse next to an incredibly large, painted desert mountain or whatever. But there are so many awesome desert shots just outside of Los Angeles. All you got to do is take the drive from LA, or if not LA, from San Diego to Las Vegas. And
that was pretty cool.
There's desolation.
Yeah. That's like this mountain.
Yeah.
And
you've done Vegas, haven't you?
Yeah.
Have you ever driven from Vegas to San Diego?
No.
Oh, you should do that too. That's not natural.
No. I won't do Vegas to San Diego. I won't drive to Vegas.
No.
I seen what happened to Hunter S. Thompson. I'm okay.
Dude, just don't take the brown acid. That's all. Just don't do mushrooms so that it kicks in halfway there. That's times are changing. World's becoming smaller by the minute.
Have you ever met Hunter S. Thompson, by the way? You ever met him?
Oh, heck no.
Yeah. Would you
No.
like to?
I don't know. He's I've read some of his stuff. He's okay. Was okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've read a little Walter Gibson too. He'd be an interesting man to take to dinner. You know? So tell me about Naked Lunch. Okay. Anyway. Necromancer. Neuromancer. There's Lewis.
Yeah, I was closing out our chat. I was looking through because it's easier just, I guess, to scroll through this way because he had pictures at that.
Yeah, we went out when we drove. We went out through Nebraska. Nebraska's a trip because it's flat and it's corn, and that's it. And there's overpasses when you're driving. There's Des Moines, Iowa, and then there's nothing until you get to the next big city. There's nothing but straight expressway and overpasses and flatland and lots of corn in Nebraska. But up in the western northwestern corner of Nebraska, they have a wonderful set of fossil mounds. That's a national monument where they've dug up a lot of the big dinosaur bones that the natives in the area watch over. So there's Rushmore right there.
Yeah.
And that's not Crazy Horse, but there's Rushmore.
Flaming Gorge.
That might have been your Crazy Horse. Yeah. See, there's those trees down there. Yeah. See, when you're at the monument and you look up at it, it doesn't look that impressive, does it?
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't. It doesn't look.
It looks kind of small compared to that person there. That person's head's almost as big as Washington's head.
Yeah.
That's just the distance, though. You get up closer to it, the bigger it becomes.
Yeah, I'm kind of upset about that.
Statue of Liberty is a disappointment too. It's a lot smaller than it looks on all of your pictures.
I've only seen her out in the bay, so
yeah.
The chandelier tree.
Or is that in California?
Yeah, he didn't say. He says tempted to drive through just a little too tight. Maybe
Bear Valley.
Right?
Yeah, but anyway, we're off our topic.
Oh yeah, we are. But it's just because I had thought about that. I thought about that valley, and I thought, well, I was standing in the corner in Winslow, and so here's the bridge back to comics, right? Randy, when you travel. When you travel for Comic-Con, what's the furthest you travel? You there?
I've traveled, yeah. I've traveled from Chicago to San Diego by car. I've flown out there like 3 times.
You've gone to San Diego.
Yeah.
When's the last time you went?
2003.
Madhouse?
Incredibly Madhouse, yeah. I got to sit in on a Smallville panel. Got to see everybody though. Mm-hmm. Even Allison Mack, yeah.
Who was missing from the reunion a couple weeks ago.
Whoops. Don't know how that happened. She probably could have televised that in from her jail cell.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she's serving time right now or not. She's probably in deep hiding. So
yeah, I would. I wouldn't be out there.
Dude, they're talking about next year doing a film in a Return to Smallville on either Arrow or Flash, and bringing back as much of the cast as possible. What's his name? Welling says he's up for it.
That strikes me as odd because Welling seemed to be like kind of resentful of the Superman role.
He was for a while. If you read an interview with him, he was pretty turned off by the whole thing. He fought getting into the costume for quite a while, which is why they only do it right at the very end of Smallville. And he was, he didn't like the fans or the idea that liked his privacy. He wanted to do directing, and he tried doing that, and he starred in The Fog, and that didn't go anywhere. So he had enough money. I mean, Smallville went through 10 seasons, I believe. So he had enough to retire on. So he's just quietly doing theater or whatever. And pardon me, Michael Rosenbaum got a hold of him and said, dude, you need to do cons. Yeah. You really need to do conventions because, it's been a while since Smallville was out. People actually miss you, and you have people that want to follow your career. You need to get a career back. So he did the first couple of cons and was stunned, and now he's a regular, I guess, on the circuit. He did Motor City last year, I believe.
He owes Rosenbaum a steak dinner.
He owes him probably a lot more than that by how much money he's pulled in. But he also because he started getting visible again, he got the role in Lucifer that he got. So he's a regular. I think he's still in this season.
He's way off topic.
No, it's all Smallville stuff.
So. And Dave is in the chat now. And I think that
that was your tour of the nation that we were off topic on.
We had.
What's that Yellowstone stuff doing on there? What's that guy's name? Who is that? That weirdo.
Yeah, we had to spice it up a little bit around here. We have to keep you guys on your toes. Randy, worst name for a comic you've ever heard?
Dude, you'd have to think about it for a while. I don't know. I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head. There's nothing that strikes me as being that stands out as real crappy. I mean, there's crappy comics, but I couldn't tell you.
Well, I seen one last weekend.
Okay.
That I think is going to take the cake. And I didn't go over to the table. I thought about getting an explanation, but I knew there was no way I was going to get one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And will I get demonetized? I don't have to worry about being demonetized, I don't think. But
no, sir, you don't. Are you going to use the P word again?
No.
You seem to be. Yeah. That's Beto Zone Comics.
No. No. It was the P word. It was pussy man.
Mm-hmm.
Pussy Man was the name of the comic.
Okay.
And I thought, wow, that's never gonna sell. I'm not gonna. I mean, and he
You'd
was.
Be amazed. You'd be amazed. There'd be people out there that would buy that.
Yeah. Maybe.
See, the whole underground movement probably happened while you were very, very little.
Yeah, I was born in '82.
Yeah. So you missed the '60s, dude.
Yeah.
This Pussy Man. There was Trash Man. There was Wonder Warthog, the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. Never read the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers?
No.
Fat Freddy's Cat.
The only
classic shit, man. This is part of that perspective thing that I've run into lately. The why there's all of a sudden there's a big mad on against Robert Crumb and Crumb's work, and it's like, dude, you weren't around back then. Why do you think the reason you think all of this stuff is offensive is because it's offensive, and it was meant to be offensive because Crumb was out there trying to show people the power of sequential art, and sequential art can be out there and be totally offensive. That means just because he did a story that involved incest or a certain race of people were taking over the world doesn't make him a fan or promoter of incest or racism. He's pointing this out, that this is the power that these comics have. Here's a point of view that some people have. And back then people had more of a sense of humor, and they were able to point at it and go, yeah, we know you don't mean it, but it's like doing a horror movie. Just because John Carpenter did Halloween doesn't mean that he wants to run around with a knife in his hand and slice up women. It's the same basic principle. And people are all up against Crumb now, talking about what a wackadoo he is for doing all of this work. when really back in the 60s, it was a direct response to the Comic Code Authority, and they were defying authority every chance that they could. And if that means, thumbing their nose at regular conventions, that's what they did. They pointed out the racism and the offensiveness, sexual offensiveness. There was a lot more sex running around. You had Wonder Tit running around, a girl who would grab her breasts and swing them over her head. Ralph from Arrow Comics used to have a character called Toilet Man that, was a human toilet. Would run around and do stuff. There was all sorts of just really awesome, bizarre, creative, underground stuff. But because they showed a certain perspective, I mean, nowadays you couldn't get away with a lot of that stuff. You can't, do the P word or have a lot because Crumb did everything. Crumb did every oddball thing that you can think of. He probably did a comic on just because he could.
Randy, I want to read this to you. I'm gonna read this, and I'm gonna read to our.
Are you going to quote Pussy Man to me? You didn't buy the book.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No, I did not. I didn't buy the book. I'm sorry. This article was sent to me earlier, though, but I wanted to read it to you. And I'll share it too, so you guys can read along.
Is it?
But it's the.
Are you going to screen cap it?
I am.
All right.
I am. And everybody, please excuse my cough. I am at the beginning or ending stages of a cold/con crud right now. I don't know.
Not to mention a mental breakdown.
Oh yeah, not to mention a mental breakdown. Oops.
What? You're going to show me Captain Canuck?
So, it says the title of the article is "The Economic Reality of Indie Comic Page Rates." This is by Todd Allen. That was written in 2015, but it was sent to me very recently. I want to read it to you because I read it and I thought, this is very interesting, and I'd hear your take on it. Over the last year or so, there's been an increasing amount of talk in creator circles about the low page rates being given out by some independent publishers for some of the smaller books. The last 2 or 3 years, publishers have been putting out a lot more titles than they used to, and a lot of the growth in the market comes from these small books with a circulation of 5,000 copies or less.
Yeah, it is an old article.
Yeah. Just as valid, a question might be, how can the publishers afford to be putting out comics with such low circulations? I've covered the basic math of print publishing and economics of digital comics, but I didn't spend a lot of time dwelling on this from the perspective of the publisher. So let's take a look at that angle. I think we'll find out where some of the page rates come from. At the same time, we find out what the publisher is dealing with. If you're a publisher putting out 30 to 60 issues each month, you're going to have lower printing costs. I've been told, not for attribution, but the printing costs can get as low as somewhere in the 35 to 40 cent per issue range, depending on exactly how many copies of the issue in question. The raw revenue is simple to calculate. Diamond takes 60% discount. If the publisher is a premier partner, they might get a 1 to 2% break, but let's work with 60%. That means the comic price at $3.99 is when they bring in 1,000 or is it 1.500.
Let's say $1.60.
Yeah, in revenue for the publisher. Let's be conservative and say that the comic costs 40 cents to print. That leaves you with was that basically $1.20? Yeah, $1.20 after each after print costs. For 5,000 issues sold, that's 5,180. For 4,000 issues sold, that's 4,784. Comics writer Alex DeCampi recently posted a survey of average page rates of independent comics. These numbers aren't controversial. In fact, the same numbers have been floating around the industry for years. Page rates don't seem to go up in comics. If we take the low end of those average, this is what we come up with for creative costs for a 22-page comic. Writing, 25 pages, $25 a page, $550. The artist, $100 a page, $2,200. $2,200. The colors, $770. The letter, $220. The covers, $200. That brings us to a total of $3,900 per issue for creative cost. What do you think about that?
It's 2015.
Yeah.
No, that's all liquid. If you want to If you want to pay somebody that page rate, the artist is only getting paid what they agree to get paid. You know, your mileage may vary.
Mhm.
So sometimes you'll get more, sometimes you'll get less. I don't know what more to tell you. And if you get paid a page rate working in the independent market, take it. Because if you're in the independent market, most of the stuff you're doing is for the love of it, and you don't get paid, period. Next is finding a reputable publisher who will tell you you'll get those rates and they actually pay you. Because, you know, you can work for $200 a page all you want, but if you don't get that check, you don't work for $200 a page.
Right.
And there are a lot of companies out there, especially some of them now, that are getting reputations for not paying their bills. You know,
My bills.
especially not paying the talent, because the talent's seems to be the very first ones that get disrespected. And the only other comment I would have on that list that you had is the amount of money for the colorist is low, because apparently they don't realize what goes into coloring a page. I've colored plenty of pages, and $30 for that is way cheap. If I could find somebody who could color for $30 a page, I could have cut my my time doing this trail literally into nothing, because I would have happily paid that. If they had enough, you know, if they could match the colors that I was doing on these characters, I would have happily paid $30 a page for somebody to come in and color. I don't get paid for that when I get paid more than that when I do those pages. I figure more than that for the coloring. So I don't know. It's just somebody's, you know, guess, hey, buddy, how much you get paid to do what you do? You know, what can you say? If I got paid for all of the work that I did during, you know, the 80s and 90s and the Arrow Comics work and stuff, I would literally be retired now. You know, because I did a good 80, 90, I would say, issues worth of work, most of which, well, not most of which, but a large portion of which never saw printing. That I've got a box back here in the corner of my basement. I got a cedar chest that's filled with mailing envelopes. Each mailing envelope has got an issue, and it's jammed from one end of that chest to the next with all ideas and stories and books and stuff that I worked on or did or whatever that never saw the light of day. So, you know, that's the aspect of being an independent publisher and a you know, small press alternative publisher, alternative creator. There's a lot of projects you do that don't make it.
Right. I agree. Starting next week, I want to, and we talked about this while we were off the air, we want to start getting some people in here who are putting out books and talking about their books and their experiences in the industry. I think that's going to add a different dynamic to it.
Well, I think between the two of us, we can interview some folks.
Yeah.
That would be interesting to see, because you have a obviously younger perspective than I do. And I've got an older perspective, and we can, you know, approach whoever from those two angles and probably get some decent responses off of them. What?
We can corner them, make them uncomfortable.
Dogpile on them. Yeah, whatever. You know? But yeah, it would be fun. We need to do that, stretch it out a little bit. Maybe we would end up attracting more listeners that way than folks going, it's those two guys again. Crap, weren't they just on last night? God damn it. I see that.
Let me see if anybody said something in the chat here. Oops. $30 is just the color flats. Average color is $125, $200 now. Tell you something.
DC doesn't own the Catman name. They have a character on there named Catman, but they don't own the Catman name. Somebody could do a Catman book. They just put a dash between the cat and the man, just like Spider-Man. Hyphen is everything. Yeah, plus it's such a regular name that they probably couldn't, you know, or wouldn't enforce it. It'd be an interesting challenge, but there's so much, and that's another thing that we could talk about. There's so much in the indie market and the comic market in general that needs to be legally challenged and defined. That especially books and characters that are in public domain. and
Yeah,
books and characters that you can file a cease and desist on, and other things that you can't.
I don't like the fact that they denied my copyright claim against my new character, Scatman. He's shit. And
dude, I would believe there was a Scatman out during the underground days. It wouldn't surprise me. There's probably somebody who's already got that copyright. I'm not joking. You don't know. You have no idea the quality and creativity of the stuff that was out back then. Sure, there was a good portion of it, just like modern comics, that was crap. But there was also a really good portion out there. You sit there and you go, that demented bastard. That is funny. And that nowadays you wouldn't see that kind of stuff. I picked up a book from Dan Fogel that has a collection of all of the Snatch comics reprinted in it. And a lot of that, there's some really vile stuff in there from Crumb. Just crazy. You sit there and you go, whoa, buddy. But, I've lived long enough to understand why he did that kind of stuff and the perspective of the times when he did that stuff, and the fact that they were literally shoving the accepted normal moray down people's throat, and were trying to be controversial on purpose. That didn't make him a demented bastard. That just made him wanting to be an artist and push boundaries. So it's all a matter of perspective. It's like that discussion we had with Eisner and Ebony in The Spirit.
Mm-hmm. There's seen this online too, on Facebook this afternoon. Does Indie Comics have a Stan Lee?
No. There'll never be another Stan Lee. Come on.
Yeah.
There'll never be another Jack Kirby. They'll always be inventive people, though. There'll always be people out there trying to trailblaze. I think Samedi's one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Alterna is so interesting. Ethan's one of those people. Doug TenNapel is definitely one of those people. They're out there doing their own stuff, and they're, we gotta find a way to get by, because printing comics, doing sequential art gets under your skin, gets into your blood, and you have to, if you're demanded to be in this business, if your spirit tells you that you absolutely have to be there, you will figure out a way to make money.
Mm.
So, I banged my head against the wall for 10 years doing this paper thing. So like a stubborn old mule, it just takes a while to get my attention. And I figured at 100, my attention wasn't given enough to doing that idea. It's time to go on and do another one,
Mm.
So yeah, I don't think there's a Stan Lee out there. Stan Lee is, and I don't even think Stan Lee was Stan Lee after a while.
Mm.
There was a brief instance in time that it was right place, right time when it comes to Marvel, that Stan was the hub, the axle on the wheel, who handled some stuff and wrote crazy things down on a legal pad that he passed to a letterer. But the basic plots, the story ideas, the story structure all came from these well-honed, well-experienced artists out there who knew how to tell a story. You wouldn't get that today. You wouldn't be able to see a Stan Lee pop up today and try to run unless you went out and found a bunch of old artistic workhorses who knew how to tell a story in 20 pages. You don't get that today. Everybody wants to do 1 of 6, 10 of 6, or whatever. They want to do their own little graphic novel, and nobody really wants to do straight story structure. And that story structure was what not only sold a bunch of comics, but it was also the crutch that these guys used in order to do those comics. There was also always a basic formula that a lot of these writers coming in after Stan figured out and honed and kept doing. Roy Thomas, I don't think there'd be a Roy Thomas if there wasn't a Stan Lee. I don't think that Gerber or Englehart or Claremont would be writing or would have written what they had done if there wasn't a Stan Lee out there, and Kirby and Ditko and, Colin and all of these great Romita, all of these great workhorses out there who were just used to doing 20 pages a month on regular, like war horses, like working machines.
Mm.
You don't see that now. Everybody wants to do their.
Like I go to Artist Alley or publish or other small press publishers are, and I see like like you walk down the aisle and there's 10 new companies. With all
Oh,
the
there's 10 new people set up trying to be new companies. It's not how big you are, it's how big they think you are.
do you think there's too many, or has it always been that way?
Always. Yep. You look back in the 80s when everybody sprung up in black and white, there were a ton of companies that sprung up. That's why not very many people pay attention to Arrow Comics history, is because there were so many other comic companies out during that period. And a lot of them never, they all shook out like Arrow did, and most of them never survived. So that same thing will happen with these guys. Same thing happened in the right after the Image boom. You had a big blast of color superhero comic companies that sprung up. Topps was doing stuff, Broadway Comics, and the guys who were printing Legacy, who had 3 or 4 books out. Legacy was a Superman ripoff. Everybody figured if Image did it, they can do it too. So they tried to do the same thing, and none of those lasted. Valiant might be a last hanger on from those. We can do our own stuff. Image days. Dark Horse sprung up back in the 80s, same time, almost a month or so apart from Arrow Comics. If Arrow Comics had kept going and had the breaks that Dark Horse had, we'd still be around. If they had a little bit more attention to business, a little bit more stick-to-itiveness and keeping on top of some of the distributors, I think Arrow would have lasted a lot longer. Would have kept going. Caliber is a good example of that. They come out and gone and come back and gone, come back.
Do you think that is it something you can go back in the past? Somewhere you can go back in the past and change something with Arrow. What would that be?
Wow. I probably wouldn't have left, and I would have stuck with it. Because I was the art director at the time, and Ralph and Stu were publisher and editor in chief, and I would have probably stayed on them a little bit more about watching their bills. Because the one thing that crippled Arrow was the fact that these distributors went out owing Arrow a lot of money. Glenwood went out owing them a bunch of money, and Rosenberg shut down Sunrise Distributors owing Arrow Comics like 20 grand. Well, Glenwood went out, if I remember right, owing 60 grand because they didn't stay on top of the bills that they owed them. They just kept picking up, and during the black and white boom, money was plentiful, and every time a check would come in, they'd split it up with the art team and kept them happy, or the creative team, and just plan their next book. I don't think I'd have left Arrow when I did. I think I'd have stayed and kept doing Tales from the Aniverse and maybe worked on another product. I almost had another book with them, a supernatural book, horror title, that I wanted to do. I ended up redoctoring that and shipping it to Marvel in DC to no solid avail. Almost had it placed at Vertigo. But I had a false start at Arrow. It was going to be the next book after System 7. That it would have been fun, but the artist on it pooped out on us, and we found him. We found out he was swiping. That's what it was. He was plagiarizing panels, and that kind of threw the project back. I never found another artist, and I ended up leaving because I had an offer to go do my own stuff. And back then, I had my head in the clouds, and ego was raging, and bridges were burning, and so I took Aniverse and started printing it myself under Weeby Comics.
What was the genesis of that name?
The owner of the comic shop up here in Flint wanted to call it Weeby Comics, wanted to name the company Weeby Comics, and he had the money, so he got to choose the company name.
Okay.
He thought it was funny, Weeby Comics, same as We Are Comics. So we did. I drew up a little bee mascot that looked like the Honey Nut Cheerios bee with the pie eyes and stuff. It was pretty cool. It was a nice character. We ran that. We did an issue. We did 2 issues of Aniverse. Yeah, 2 issues of Aniverse, an issue of The Realm, an issue of collection of Dead World, a portfolio. And I think that was it. And then we were done.
And is character for a Saginaw show. Is he officially Captain Saginaw, or is he?
Oh no, I just call him Bob. I
Bob.
told you. He looks like a Bob to me. Bob and Betty. So yeah, I've got that. I've got flyers done up. I'm going to be going up there and meeting with main coordinators up there at the marketplace because they keep getting calls and getting asked weird questions that they don't quite know how to answer because they've never experienced a con before.
Mhm.
So I have to go up there and give them a little primer on, they know what cosplay is, but they didn't know it before our last meeting. Let's put it that way. So, and they've been having people ask odd questions about tables and stuff. So I got to go up there and get a bunch of stuff settled. That's tomorrow. So,
and if anybody hasn't seen those flyers, they are. I think I've shared it. Randy shared it on his Facebook.
I got a poster upstairs. I don't think I'm going to bring it back down here though. I think I got a flyer. One of the early versions of the flyer. Yeah, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Saginaw Comic-Con, SVRC Marketplace. Small group of guests so far. I've got other invitations out there. I'm waiting for people to check their calendars and let me know if they can make it. So hopefully we'll have a slightly bigger guest list, and it'll be a fun time regardless. As long as I can get the tables. That's tomorrow's goal. Even though I'm probably going to have to pay through the nose to rent them. So end of June, open houses. What can you say? I might end up renting them down here and then having to rent a U-Haul on top of that in order to truck them up there. So we'll see how it goes.
Were you speaking of which, I know you with your tables and everything. How is it? We hasn't the website up yet. I am helping you build a website.
I still have to make a Facebook event page, but I don't know how legitimate those are looked at anymore. I need to do it for this one, especially because it's it's a new location. It's a new show. And there's a lot of newbies that it would probably find it via the Facebook event page. So I will build one, but I just haven't been able to cut the time to do it so far. Facebook seems to be more and more, or less and less important as time goes on.
Yeah, it does seem that way. It does seem that because everything is about pay us now. Quickly.
About what? Oh, pace?
Paying them.
Oh yeah. They're nasty when it comes to that kind of stuff. When they shot the Flint Comics page, that was also another reason that I figured 100 was enough. Because I was reaching a lot of people. There was and I know that they were responsible. I was getting 300 to 500 people going to the show. I was getting 3,000 to 3,500 people seeing my posts on my Facebook page. And as soon as I paid $30 lousy bucks for an ad, it literally shot a zero out of my algorithms. I went from 3,500 people to seeing a post to 350. And a constant barrage of emails going, you can boost your post for another 20, 30 bucks. And it's like, no. And then I was worried last fall about the fall show, about the Fall Fest. So stupid me, I spent another 30 bucks with them. And silly me again, I gave them my PayPal account. And they kept hitting my PayPal account and they wouldn't leave it alone. First it was 30, then it was 25, then it was 5. And I'm like, stop this, cut this out.
Yeah. So
I refused payment on the 25 and the 5 payment because I only authorized one payment of 30, which is as much as I spent last time. I shouldn't have done it because it didn't bring in any new people, I found. But because our attendance was the same from the previous September show. So they sent me a nasty email telling me, you stopped your payment. You keep this up, you won't be able to advertise on Facebook anymore. And I'm like, yeah, don't worry about that. I ain't advertising with you ever again. So that was it for me. And they wouldn't respond to any email inquiry that I put out there, especially about my algorithm and being covered, or losing a zero on my coverage.
No, of course not.
If they'd have kept that going, I probably would have stayed advertising with them, but once they hit my PayPal more than once, and I figured out what they were doing, I stopped them, and that was it for me. I'll never advertise with them again.
Yeah, I wonder if any publishers, especially anybody in the chat, has had their Facebook's, especially when you create those art of or company Facebook pages,
Yeah.
has had those sabotaged by Facebook, by ads or what have you.
Well, I know they crippled my event page, which, like I said, takes away a lot of the relevance of it. Because I saw my people interested in go from 300 down to like 60. And my attendance didn't drop. So that kind of said it all right there. It's like, why am I doing this? But like I said, I'll do it for this show because there might be people up there in the Great Lakes Bay region that will find the show through the Facebook page and get the information that they want, as opposed to bugging the people at the marketplace.
Yeah. But I guess the people at the marketplace being bugged is kind of a good thing.
Oh, yeah, they're excited. They called and said, hey, we haven't talked in a while. I'm like, hey, yes, we haven't talked in a while. I've been slaughtered with commercial work, but I do plan on getting up there quickly. And, I told her I'd just done the flyer and was going to bring it up to them. So they're like, yeah, well, just matter of connecting, So I'm going to go up there and talk to her about the guests that we've got lined up and exactly what we're going to be doing on the show so that they'll be able to better answer anybody's questions. A lot of newbies, a lot of normies up there. It's going to be a very interesting show because I think a lot of people will be experiencing a comic convention for the first time because they never bothered to get down to Detroit or went to our Flint show or over to the Traverse City show. That's kind of for people that are into comics. And they'll all be interested, curious. What's this comic thing all about? Why are there so many weird dressed people running around? That kind of thing. We had the same reaction at the Flint market. Still do.
I think the best question I got, I get asked at least once a year, but it was, hey, so do you guys travel with the con? And there are people who don't know that they think we're carnies.
Yeah.
They think that we travel with the con. The con is one big traveling circus, and we all go with it. We move into town and leave. And
well, back in the day, there used to be a nice lady who used to do a series called Jubilee shows. And Jason Moore and I used to, back when I was doing Arrow, actually back when I was doing Massive, this was going on because I remember selling Tales from the Anniversary there. We would travel with her every weekend.
Okay.
And she'd do a series of one-day shows. Saturday would be in one place, Sunday would be in the next town. So we would drive out to the Saturday show, and her Sunday show was like a state over or at least 3 or 4 counties away from the previous show in the next, not the next big city, but usually the next big city after that. Far enough away so that the Sunday didn't have an effect on the Saturday show. We'd go and we'd travel and do the Saturday show and then travel, do the Sunday show and then drive back home. We did that for, maybe a weekend out of every month. Went to a lot of strange places. And we were set up as guests and promoted as guests for that show. And sold, a lot of Tales from the Anniversary there. So there's probably some massive Tales from the Anniversary 1 through 3s floating out on the East Coast somewhere. A little bit more than, what would normally do.
Right. That's kind of cool. That's a cool concept. I wonder if anybody would be willing to try to
There's not enough of them. That's the thing. That's why I like doing a one-day show. They're quick and relatively painless. 9 to 5, boom. Come in, set up, sell, tear down, leave. Just like those old carnies. Only the carnies would be there for a week or 2 weeks, set up in a place. But yeah, that used to be fun. I don't know if I could still keep up with that pace today. Because we were traveling like Arlington, Virginia, Massachusetts, around that East Coast area.
All right. Huh.
So that was an experience. It was a good experience. Arrow Comics, when we were doing Arrow Comics, about the farthest away I got was New Orleans. outside of the trips to San Diego. I never did like a Denver con or a Vegas con or anything like that. But
Dave the Supreme says, same thing happened to me, damn Facebook. Lewis says, haven't tried. I expect they buried my Patreon and my Story pages, but whatever. I found that a lot of Facebook fandom in general these days are all talk, no actual backing. When I was traveling the concert in the 90s, I was constantly doing college appearances where we were on the road every weekend. Yeah, I think that man, being on the road every weekend, I did that in 2012. Me and my
back
wife.
then you could really promote your book too, though.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't have the social media outlets that they have now. Nowadays you can sit in your basement and get as much, if not more, coverage.
And my wife and I went out.
You just have to work on it for a while.
In 2012, my wife and I went out and we were on the road quite a bit. And yeah, that was an experience. And it was not one I look forward to doing again.
It's all part of that life, you know.
Yeah.
I did a lot of traveling during that time. I don't regret it. I miss doing road trips every once in a while. You know, be cool to get in the car and just drive.
Yeah.
When I started the War of the Worlds book, the Memphis Front, I drove down to Memphis for a weekend, spent 2 or 3 days down there. And there was no con associated with that. I bumped into a couple of comic shops and talked to them for a while about what was up around the local area. Took a lot of photographs and made a lot of notes, and, you know, got to see exactly how small Graceland looks, just like Statue of Liberty. It's that gate's only about half as big as the photographs are. You know, I didn't see Graceland. I didn't go in, but I was there in the gift shop for a bit, watching everybody do the bus tour. But, you know, got to run around Memphis for a little bit. So that was unforgettable. Beale Street, that kind of thing.
Who says, yeah, but online, you're not in the face of the audience. Randy, when I was on the college campuses, we were literally going into the dorms and holding court. Can't do that today.
No, you can't get on those campuses anymore. And you wouldn't want to be on them campuses. You touch the wrong girl and you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid you peck a girl on the cheek anymore. Can't do it. Wouldn't want to do it for fear of the trouble that you'd cause.
Yeah.
Can't hug anybody. Can't hug anybody. Look at John Lasseter. Can't hug anybody.
Because all the nut jobs who go shooting people up on campuses, plus today at age 47, I'm the student's dad, not the same age.
Yeah, well, you know, the people shooting people up on campuses, that's all a drug thing. But that's, you know, mental health.
I don't know if I've done career days where I talk to young kids. I think I talked to a set of ninth graders too. But
I did a campus symposium once where they were talking about making your way, doing what you love. That was, I did that at Mott Community College. I figured I'd be walking into a crowd of 2 people. We just sit there and talk, but the whole room was full. You know, and that was a very interesting talk because I winged a lot of it. I'm just walking up and going, "Yeah, I do art. What do you want to know?" You know,
when you were doing the paper and you had those ads, I've always wanted to ask you this, but I forget. You talk about having, you know, having to reject stories and art and whatnot. Have you ever had to reject an ad other than the? I know you had a problem with some of the strip clubs wanting to advertise at one point, but have you ever had to reject the ad just because of what it entailed? Or
no, but there were a lot of people we didn't go out and ask for ads from on purpose because I didn't agree with it or I thought that it wouldn't be family friendly or. You know, we could have gone and bumped into the armed forces recruiting offices and probably get an ad, but I didn't feel it right to do that. You know, we didn't ask for any advertising from loaning or cash advance agencies, and they have a lot of money to spend. I always thought about going in there, especially because we have one up here called Super Cash. that uses a warped Superman diamond as their logo. But I never got around I never got that desperate to talk to, the guys about doing it. It just wasn't a driving force to go in. Not that cost us the paper or anything. It was just a matter of personal preference as to what should and shouldn't be in the paper. I still even got in trouble, like you said. I didn't think there'd be a problem with a strip club having a superhero weekend, but apparently there was enough angry moms out there to make it one.
Yeah.
So, and again, nowadays, I probably wouldn't even do that. I probably wouldn't take it in today's climate. Back then, that was 5-6 years ago. That was a whole different climate. Because I figured it was all right to do until the mom saw the word live and nude and entertainment all in a row. Who knew?
And
that triggered an angry mom mob for a couple of months. Not even a mob. It was more like that one angry mom kept bugging me and trolling me. Oh, the first troll that Flint Comics ever had.
was she sending her letters, or was she?
No, she'd chase after me on Facebook. Every time I posted something on Facebook, she'd come back and mention the fact that we were promoting adultery by running ads for strip clubs. And her 10-year-old kid's no longer allowed to read Flint Comics because there was an ad in there for, that said clearly 18 and older on it and had a couple of pictures of ladies dressed as superheroes that weren't even image circle template level.
Right.
But it did have the word live and nude and entertainment all in a row. So that was enough to throw her off the deep end. Then she had her browbeaten husband come in after that and kind of shake a finger at me. And I was going to write him a response. I was drafting a response. And then I got one more really just off the wall, off tirade from that woman. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to explain anything to you. I don't have to. Just don't pick up the paper. Don't let your kid read it. That's okay. That's your prerogative. But, they had signed a 3-issue contract and they lived up to it and they paid well.
Yeah.
So
did she this is like
but we ran Compassion Club ads. The issue 100's got a Compassion Club ad right on the back cover.
Did she,
nobody said anything about that.
Did
Nothing.
she complain even after that month?
No, she kind of burned out when I didn't respond to her right away. It was like dealing with nowadays dealing with an SJW. If you ignore them enough, they'll eventually realize they're not going to get the attention from you that they are craving, and then they just give up on you. She, well, that's enough, and she unfriended me on Facebook, and her husband come back and said, my wife said that's enough, and then he unfriended me on Facebook, and that was it. But that was okay. I would go in behind her. I would post something, and I knew how she acted. I'd go in and post something positive about the paper, and I'd come back an hour later, and there her super hardcore negative response was, and it was more vitriol. It was more bitter as it went along until she just finally gave up and unfriended us and swore that her son was never going to pick up the paper again. So, okay, whatever. My mistake. Sorry. Won't solicit from a strip club again, but they still have 3 issues and they pay well. So. Yeah. And then in my mind, that ad wasn't remotely offensive in the slightest, especially when you go and drive down Dort Highway and you see these tremendously huge Blade Runner-esque type signs with even more scantily clad female pictures on them than what I printed, with the words bigger, much bigger than what I had in the paper, live, nude, entertainment. So, yeah. And that's right out next to the road. That's not on the inside back cover of a paper where a kid has to actually open it up and look and, Mommy, what does nude mean? Whatever. What is nude entertainment? Wow. Okay. Whatever. It's done now. So
Steve-O's, Sean Lee Cup says the old banana in the tailpipe, classic. Send the nudes. Let's see them.
Yeah. Send the nudes.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who, I've
there are people out there that troll on purpose just to get the attention, and if you don't give them the attention, they either get more mad or they get really mad and then they leave. They tell you off and then well, since you're not answering my emails, fuck you. I'm going to unfriend you. And that's it. That's okay. Good. You got the hint. See ya. whatever. It just go in. Like I said, I would go in, I would post something, wait an hour, go back in, catch her remark, and delete it. She got her energy out. It's okay. Nobody else needs to read the negativity on my page. Gone. So what? You know, she's perfectly, and I felt bad for her. Like I said, towards the end, I was drafting a response to her. And then before I could even send it, she wrote me back another, just a horrible tirade. But also that's the same woman, I figure that's also the same woman that one sent around the anonymous notes to all of my advertisers telling them how Flint Comics supports adulterers by running or adultery and immorality by printing a strip club ad. And I got a call from all of my just about every advertiser laughing because the note was scrawled on a pad, hand scrawled on a pad with the ad inside, folded in with it in the envelope, shipped to all of my advertisers, every last one of them. And I know everybody got it because they all called me, and all of them that called me were laughing. They were like, dude, we got this ad from this crazy person. Nobody, they never signed it. You know, it was all anonymous notes. But we knew it was the same person because she used the same notepad. And that notepad, at the bottom of the notepad, had a cartoon yellow dog that said wolf on it. That's why I started doing yellow dog in the paper.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
The koalas came from the second the second Comics Con that we had, because I had found a bunch of really cute stuffed koala tchotchkes. I've still got one up here. Oh, give me just a second to get it.
So there's a chance that she knows. She drove past and seen Yellow Dog, and she knows that.
I sincerely, I doubt that she was that smart.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure that, according to her word, they never picked up another issue of Flint Comics for as long as it existed. But there's a little koala doll. That's the last one left. I got a bunch of these at a garage sale for our second show, and I'd tuck one in my back pocket for the door prizes. Every hour we give away a door prize, and it'd be a list of stuff. Here's a comic, here's a print, here's a graphic novel, and I'd pull it out of my back pocket a koala. So about the third or fourth time I did it, everybody everybody in the room would go, and a koala. Yeah. So the koala became kind of our mascot. I drew him in on our Help Wanted ad. It look cute. You can't find cute. Let me get that in the camera. You can't find cute koala small dolls like this anymore. I've looked all over for them. They're all ugly because apparently nobody else wants to do a really cute koala. They all do these ugly, bigger than usual nosed koalas that look crappy. But anyway, there are people out there that ended up getting the koala, and I was giving them away because I had 2 or 3 bags of them. You know, I was giving them out to the guests and all of that, and giving them out as door prizes. So I still have people that still, I still got my koala. Oh, that's cool. So we got to call any problem that was in the paper a koala. So when Yellow Dog needed a companion, it was, Yellow Dog, K-Bear, and Yellow Dog. So that's where that came from. But the Yellow Dog would say woof, woof as often as possible. Just to jab back at that lady.
I hope there's some way, somehow, she's realized that,
she doesn't care. She's just angry that she didn't get the attention. And her son's, 15, 18 years old now. Hopefully I've influenced him to start thinking on his own. That was one of the key points why I wanted to do that paper, was to, show some sequential art out there, expand some imaginations, and entertain people. So, especially in this town. That's just my personal feeling. That's why it was Flint Comics. It wasn't Genesee Comics. It wasn't Mid-Michigan Comics. It was Flint Comics. So.
You think you ever could have? Did you ever have any?
When I do my adult underground comic, which there's only how many people in here listening now? There's only 4 watching us. So Gabriel must have left, and Dave is still hanging on, or Steve, Sean, Lee Cup. Wow, we must have lost a couple people. Sean. Oh, sorry, we haven't been keeping track of the chat if anybody said goodbye. But anyway, when I do my underground comic, it'll be called Vehicle City Comics. In dedication to Flint. and there'll be a couple of Flint centric.
Was there ever any discussions
Actually.
or maybe change the name of Flint Comics to reach outside of the Flint area?
Oh yeah. I've got logos. I was ready to go to franchise the idea in general. No, not making it. No, that's kind of cute. Wonder how big that is.
Well, next to her face.
As big as that? Yeah. Yeah, that's a much cuter koala than what I was finding. But at the time, they all had goofy, big ass noses and didn't look. They didn't look nearly as cute. Not nearly as cute as my koala buddy.
Yeah.
That's probably it right there. Where is that? Is that the same koala that the girl was holding? It is.
Yeah.
So that's much bigger.
Yeah.
I need something that's, like probably 4 inches tall.
Right.
Something I could pull out of my back. Well, no big deal. I couldn't find him. That's the way it went. And he just became a mascot for the paper. But yeah, that and Yellow Dog.
That's cool. Well,
but anyway, yeah, I had a lot of franchise possibilities with the paper that all fell through. And I was going to stop and restart the paper and call it Mid-Michigan Fun Times for a while. And it just, that never came to fruition. I still might do something later, like a summer special that has coupons and stuff in it. But right now, I think I'm more interested in working on this and the YouTube channel and getting that Spank book out there. I think that's becoming a priority as soon as I catch up on a little bit more commercial work and a little bit more of the show promotions. I've become more of a show promoter than a comic book artist lately. So
well, let me get out of here because I know we're reaching the 12 o'clock hour. People got to go to work.
Yeah, we were only going to do an hour.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing what, 3?
To the audience, we just keep giving and giving of ourselves. My God, we really deserve YouTube awards.
2 hours ago. No, we don't know. That's just a popularity contest. We just need more listeners.
Yeah,
more listeners, more subscribers. Subscribe to Indie Volt. Make sure you hit that like button down there. We've only got 2. Now we've got 3. I just hit it.
Yeah.
So make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you pop back on Tuesdays. Tell your friends or anybody that you think can put up with us to sit there and listen. Yeah, Sean Lee Camp points out Stan Lee made Stripperella. Comic show about a stripper superhero. Yeah. That would never have flown in Flint Comics, though. That would have been interesting. That would have been a really big angry mob. Then
even if Stan did it?
Huh?
Even if Stan did it?
Well, even if Stan did it, we'd have a lot of my subscription base would have probably jumped up and been pretty good nationally, but he put his name on a lot of products. So Stripperella, just one of them.
Yeah. He got sued for that too.
Stripperella?
Yeah.
For why?
Stripper claimed that he stole the idea from her while she gave him a lap dance.
Did she win?
Nah, I think the case got thrown out.
There you go. Yep. Well, strippers, they just don't have any power outside the club.
Yeah.
But what can you say?
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, somebody just dropped out. We're down to 3.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We're dropping out. So
look too happy. That ad, it's nice, but come on. She looked too happy in that ad. What ad? Oh, the girl with the koala. Okay, got it. Got it, Steve-O. All right.
Thanks, Steve-O, for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, whoever.
We will be back Tuesday.
And all you future listeners out there, we usually get 30 hits or so as we go through the week. So absolutely. Hope you get to listen to both of them. We just did one yesterday, Especial, if you ever get a chance. That's got 23 views on it already from yesterday.
Yep.
So we usually get up in the 30s. We need to pump that up. We need to get it up to 100. Actually, we needed to get it up to a couple of K. Actually, a couple thousand would be really good. But it's baby steps.
Yeah.
What can you do? We'll be back next week talking more industry talk. Maybe take another trip around Yellowstone or something.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
Take you on a tour around my basement and show you all the weird publications I've got. Who knows?
All right, everybody. Goodbye.
All right, folks. Take care. We'll see you soon. Zim Geek channel, Indie Volt channel. Good luck.